Episode. Today, the ShotCast episode is going to be about, I said something along the lines of leaving your job for your passion, which is something that my good friend Mo has done. And I know Mo from a long time ago. We pretty much grew up in the same neighborhood. He worked with me in my company. He was actually one of my top sales guys, broke the comp plan as soon as he got in there.
Yeah, first day, 24
Didn't believe
recs.
it. Really broke a record his first day. Went on to another company, a big sales company. He was a top producer and a top salesperson there. Went on and started his own kind of company, medical related. And then after that, went out and started a music career on his own, you know. And I really look up to this guy. He's done a lot in his life. He's never been scared. And I know there's a certain point in your life where you had the studio, you were into music, then you sold the studio, you stopped, and you got into a career. And now you went back into the music. So could you just explain where you've been, where you are now, and how that transition, you know, worked out for you?
Yeah, so basically, at the time when I was originally following my passion, I was probably, 21, 22 years old. And, that's right around the time where your brain starts to evolve into an adult. You know, men, scientifically speaking, we don't mature until we're like 27, some 30, 40. So I started realizing at the time, you can't chase a dream if you don't have assets or financial backing or anything like that. You know, there's a lot of people that jump into the music world or even entrepreneurship in general, and they got nothing to back them. So you waste years, you waste time that you can't get back, and you fall into debt, into, traps and things like that, and you just set yourself up for failure at that time. Like, there's always risk versus reward, but the key to risk, to reward basically being worth the risk, you got to make sure that you don't have too much to lose. And that's a problem. When you have too much to lose, fear is going to hold you back, logic is going to hold you back. There's just a lot that you can't do. So basically, I got rid of it at that age.
So when you got rid of your studio, did you have too much to lose where you couldn't continue doing the music? And that's why you said, I'm just going to stop doing the music. I'm going to focus on my career. And I don't have enough juice to go into this passion? Or what was the thought process like back then? Because you put away the music and you went back into your career, and now you're back in the music 100%. So a lot of people out there, I know they lose their passions, or they think that it's too hard to get to be done, or it's impossible to do, or it's too much risk, and then they back out of it as well, and they go back to their day jobs or their careers. So how did that thought process work for you when you decided, I'm going to sell the studio, I'm out of the music, I'm going to focus on my career? What was it like before there, or heading up to those thoughts?
I had too much time to lose. Again, I was 21, 22 years old. I had nothing going for me. I dropped out of high school. And obviously I got my degree at the time. My era, you could test out. You take a test, you get your diploma. So I got lucky with that. They stopped doing that. I had nothing going for me at the time.
Yeah.
So if I'm just going to focus on this, it's a big, big, big risk. And who's to say that I'm going to make it? 5-6 years goes down the line. I'm 26, 27, 28 years old, still living at my mom's, thinking I got a music career. That's just not realistic. So time was a loss at the time. Time is the most valuable thing you have in this world. You can't get it back.
Yeah.
So logically speaking, I upped and sold it. I went through a lot of adversity at the time, and then I found my way into a very beautiful company. I'm not going to put the name out there, but many of you that know me know where I was and what I've accomplished in that company. And while I was at that company,
you were getting paid very well at this company as well.
Yeah, very well. 6 figures just wasn't even a question. It was phenomenal. Great company, great education, teaches you a lot of things about business and how corporate America works and culture and things like that. So I took that, I ran with it, I killed it, and then I started, thinking about where I want to be in life. Do I want to work for somebody the rest of my life? Do I want to answer to somebody for the rest of my life besides God and the IRS? Because no matter what, you got to answer to them, Yeah. And I was like, forget that. This is just nonsense. I'm not going to live like that. So I started working a plan. When I was working from home, I scaled back on my production there. Definitely took a big hit in my numbers. But while I scaled back and working from home, I was building up a medical revenue management business. I found an industry that has a broken process, just like the company I worked for. They accelerated when they found themselves in an industry that had a broken process, and they freaking became the solution to all those problems. That's why they blew up. So I started thinking on the same level. Got myself into, the medical industry, medical revenue management, physical therapy, a couple other things. I don't want to say too much. Built my way out, replaced my income, and then I took a step back. I had way too much to lose. I was married at the time. I was building a house at the time.
I remember.
And I had my family. Obviously I don't really come from a wealthy household, so there was just way too much to lose. So I scaled back. I sacrificed things that were important to me. I cut my marriage. I got rid of the house. I took a step back on my bills, started stacking, went back to my mom's. Even though I had it made. I was freaking driving a lot of people's dream car at the time.
Yeah.
And I got rid of my house, dissolved my marriage, moved back to my mom's, slept in the attic on a freaking mattress on the floor, built up my companies until I felt it was ready.
Now, at the time, sorry to cut you off, when you were building up this company and you scaled back on your full-time career and you were building up this company, were you doing it with the intentions that you wanted to go back into the music, or were you just doing it to be your own boss at the time? Was music even in your head?
Music was in my head, most definitely.
Okay, so you were building the second company to build an income for yourself where you could go back to your passion into the music.
Absolutely, because at a worst, what's going to happen? What would I really lose if music doesn't work out? Which fortunately it is. January 24th, I have an album on the way, executive produced by Cool and Dre. That's really big. I have huge sponsorships behind me.
And on Instagram, some Arab guy, if you want to search him. Yeah. And I know we'll release some information when you get some music out there. We'll definitely advertise that on the channel for everybody watching. So you're step back from your career. You're building the second business for yourself to build an income for yourself, and in the back of your mind, you're saying, "I'm going to get back into the music."
100%, but the primary focus was still business and will always be business, because even the music business it's a business in itself. It's not like how it was 20 years ago where you got a hot song and somebody that knows somebody that's major within these labels hears it and says, okay, this is a hot record, call this guy in for an interview. It's not like that anymore. Now it's like, okay, how's his streams? How's his social media? What kind of character does he have? What does he have to offer for himself?
Okay.
It's way different. You need money nowadays in the music business. So my primary focus was business, making a name for myself, building an establishment that could help others, create opportunity for others, take care of my family, make sure the bills are paid, and that I got enough left over to continue to grow the business that I have. And then instead of living lavishly, I live comfortable. I do have a nice luxury car. I have a nice luxury condo. I wear the finer things, don't get me wrong, but I budget very well. Primary focus is always business, and I scaled back from a lot of night outs, a lot of shopping, a lot of foolish spending and behavior to really invest in my passion.
And you said before all this happened, as far as condo and the lavish...
Sugar-free Red Bull, by the way, in case my mom sees this.
You said before all this happened, when you were living, you went back to live with... So when you cut the marriage, you sold the house that you were building, what was it like then? Why did you make all those sacrifices? What was on your mind? Because those are some big steps to take. You pretty much changed your life and went down a different path.
It goes back to our thesis statement. Having too much to lose is a problem. If I continued to build that house and I continued my marriage, don't get me wrong, it was, I don't want to speak too much on a personal level. It was just something that didn't work out. It's not like I would have dissolved it if everything was good, don't get me wrong. But I thought about it, if I continue to build this home, then I got a brand new build. I got X amount on property taxes. I'm working at corporate America where, we're relying on an interest-based market and mortgages. That's just up and down. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, you can make a couple $100,000, and you take a big hit in the economy and you're stuck with shit, and you got all these expenses. You got a housewife, and then you're raising a family. You can't do those type of things. So if I wanted, let's just say that I continue my marriage and I had my house built and I popped out 2 babies as well. Those are expenses in itself. Those are responsibilities in itself. If I take the risk to grow my business or continue what I'm passionate about, I'm not only risking things for me, but I'm being selfish. I'm risking the income that keeps food on the table for my family, my kids' future, my wife's time and devotion, and making her feel like she has a partner in life. So I just didn't want too much to lose. It was a choice I had to make at the time while I could still make it. Okay.
So you cut the ties, you cut the marriage, you went back to your mom's, And what was it like then? I'm guessing that was where you faced most of your adversity, from going from up here, dropping back to down here, pretty much starting all over again, rebuying a studio, getting back into the music. When did that studio thing pop back in? Because I know we started off by saying that you always want to make sure that you're secure, you know, before you move forward into something else. You know, don't go all in if you don't got chips to back yourself up. So when did you figure out that, all right, it's time now, I could get back into the music, I feel like I built a secure income, I could leave my career? How was that transition?
One step at a time. So it started with finding myself and recovering from all the losses that I took at the time from those sacrifices. That was step one. Once I got comfortable with myself, my character, my mentality, and knowing who I am, built up the business, and then got a team in place. Teamwork is very important. You can't do everything alone. You got to make sure that your team members are fed very well and they're happy as well, or your business is just not going to be taken care of. You definitely don't want a revolving door. So once I felt like business is good, I could take a step back away from it to invest in my passion. That's when I did it. Same thing as when I was working at, you know, the corporate job that I had, and I could take a step back to focus on business. Now that business is where it needs to be, there's always room for improvement, don't get me wrong, but once I got into a comfortable position where I have a team in place and I could allocate certain people to do things, it gave me enough time to focus on my passion.
Got it. So you laid a little off your career, you focus on your second business, you made sacrifices as far as where you live and your marriage and your whole life by going back home, and then you focused on that business so it was up and running. Not perfect, but up and running where it could run itself with the team that you had. And then you said it's time to get back into the music.
100%. But the main part of all that is character building. You have to make sure that you're strong mentally and disciplined enough to handle all that. You know, my life right now consists of strictly work, my business, work on myself, my physique, my mental health, a lot of time alone. I travel alone. I do everything alone, right? And building that mentality where everything is strictly business. And then you could transition into your passion. You know, a lot of people, they focus strictly on their passion and they kill too much time doing it. Like, for example, my music career, this is the only thing I could use an example. You can't put 100% of your time into it where you're just out with your boys all night in a raggedy, broke down studio. You need money to back you up. You need quality over quantity. So with quality, you got to make sure that yourself have quality within your mentality. Your thoughts are quality. Everything is quality nowadays.
And I feel like I'm similar. I went all in on the company that we built, you know, the one that you came in and smashed the sales record on. I went all in, and I went all in for 10 years, and I sacrificed everything. And then when I thought that it wasn't working, I had to drop those chips and go into that same career that you went into at the sales company, where I knew I had a bigger potential there. And that was a hard transition for me as well. That was something where I was leaving what I was passionate about, so I'm doing it the opposite way. As an entrepreneur, leaving what I'm passionate about, going back to work for corporate America. And that was a big change. But when I knew I gave my all after those 10 years, that's what really helped me transition through. And now I'm back in corporate America, where I'm doing kind of the same thing you're doing. I'm giving my all in this career, and I'm also giving not my all in my passions, but I'm doing as much as I can with my time off. But you said something very interesting. You said that you had to deal with a lot of adversity and a lot of tough times before you got to the point where the business was up and running and the music was back and going and you got back into the music. So a lot of people get into that adversity and some shit happens to them. Like, I could picture a lot of people I know that ended a marriage, went back and lived with their parents. They don't got the same ending as you, man. Some of them, they stay down for a long time, and some of them never recover from that. So if you don't mind, I mean, how was going through that adversity? How did it help build your character? You said that you had a lot of time to focus on your character and yourself. How was that like, especially when you lost a lot of things that were going well for you? How did you recover from that? And did the adversity help you? Because a lot of people are scared of adversity, and I think it really builds true character. I know it's a deep question, so
yeah, it's a really
take
deep
a sip
question.
of your Red Bull before you answer it.
The key is to believe in yourself and trust God. Always keep God in the picture, because the devil's in the details. That's just known fact. Profanity allowed on this show?
That's fine, man.
That's fine?
That's fine.
Real talk, the key is just to not give a fuck. You gotta be ruthless. You gotta literally be ruthless. You gotta know how to shut off your emotions. A lot of people are not built for this. They're not built for entrepreneurship. They're not built for anything except a 9 to 5 and 65 years old retirement and a fucking 401k. And it's sad. And it's very sad.
You're hitting them in the face.
Because there's a lot of people out here that are just scared and only care about security that have full potential to impact a lot of lives. There's a lot of talented intellectual individuals that just work regular fucking 9 to 5s and they're scared of everything. And that's a problem.
So what's your advice to those people that do want to get out of that?
Step out of your comfort zone, get comfortable being uncomfortable, be very optimistic, obviously be realistic at the same time. Don't just think you're going to shoot for the fucking moon and land on the stars. It's not going to happen, or vice versa, you know? It's just not. You got to be realistic. You got to expect hit after hit after hit after hit, and you have to be solution focused. If you focus on the problems, you're going to continue to attract problems. If you focus on solutions, you're going to continue to attract solutions and continue to grow. You know, at the time when I left the company that I was with, I had almost an 800 credit score. I was nearly debt free, right? But building this house, going through all the adversity that I was going through, you know, the key is not to blame others. At the time, I was blaming others. My contractor fucked me over. He put a bid on X, Y, and Z and said this was the plans, and he knocked down the house when he wasn't supposed to, sent me back $300,000. What am I going to do? I'm 26, 27 years old. I'm literally depleting all the assets that I built up from this company and falling back into step one. So I stepped back and I reevaluated myself. I said to myself that in a matter of a year, I'm going to go broke anyways. Whether I stay at this company or I don't. And once I go broke, I'm going to fall into debt because I'm going to rely on my credit cards and everything to pick me back up. And how in God's name am I going to pay them? I'm not going to be able to. So I thought a year ahead and said, fuck it. I'm going to go broke anyways. I might as well go broke the right way. I'm done with this marriage. I'm done with this company. I'm done with this house. I'm taking a mental leave. I'm fixing myself, building my character back up, and I'm going all in with business. It got to a point where I was worth a couple $100,000. I had nothing left but $1,000 to my name. My doors were not even open yet. Wow. I fell into debt. I dropped to a 450 credit score. The key is not to give a fuck. You can fix everything. Everything can be fixed. Now my credit's back up. All my debt's paid off. Everything's removed. Everything's solid, right? But I believed in myself and I took that leap of faith and I scaled everything logically.
How did you deal with all the pressure? I know, like, believe in yourself, not give a fuck. Like, it's easy to say that, but you're down to 450 credit. You got 1,000 left. I mean, in your mind, aren't you like, fuck, what did I do?
Solution focus. Keep finding a way. Keep finding a way. Even
and how many times would you say you failed until you find your way?
God, bro. 22 years old, I had a cell phone store. I failed. That was one. 20 years old, I had a good job. I failed. That was two. This job, you know, the corporate America one that I had, I can't say I really failed. I left on really good terms and I had a household name in that company. But I still consider that a failure because I screwed up during the process. I rushed into things I shouldn't have rushed into. I rushed into building a home. I rushed into marriage. I failed 10 times over before I finally succeeded.
Okay, so you went through a lot of adversity through that.
Yeah.
Okay, so fast forward now. You built that business, second income. You sold your studio a few years back. You said you're out of the music. It's the hardest thing to me to get into is music and to make your way in your career in music, and hopefully you're going to make it big. I know you got some big things going on right now, LA, Miami, record labels. We don't want to say names.
Everything.
Some big things going on right now, so hopefully everything's going to work out for you for your release next month. How did you make that move and step up back into that music, you know, shadow of yours? What was it like then, and how'd that come up, and how'd you just jump straight into it?
Overcoming my adversity and proving to myself that I'm able to do whatever the fuck I put my mind to. And I just did it.
So how are the steps to do it? You went back and bought a studio. Who'd you reach out to? Like, what was the steps to get back into the music and say, I'm going to make it in the music industry? And then I look at you a year later and you're traveling on a plane and you're meeting record labels, and I mean, you're doing it. And you stepped into it and you had no fears, and now you're doing it.
This goes back to quality.
Yeah.
Never do what the masses are doing.
Yeah.
You know, they tell you to go to school to be a doctor. If you're not passionate about being a doctor, why are you going to fall into a 13-year entrapment and $300,000-$400,000 of debt? In 13 years you can't get back, and $300,000-$400,000 of debt that you can't bankrupt. God forbid on your graduation day you become disabled. Right? So this goes back to quality. You know, with the music, I I noticed what everybody else is doing. Everybody else is doing little shows, little gigs, getting their name out there in the city, little performances. You start adding all that quantity up, song after song after video after video. By then you're 10 songs deep, 50,000 out. Why didn't you just say 50,000, push one record with a big name producer and a big name feature for 20 grand, do another video for 10,000, there's 30,000, then $20,000 in promo. You made one record, you saved all that time and stress, and you did it big, and you look bigger than what you actually are, and you saved all the bullshit in between. It's quality, man.
So how did you plot that out? When did you say to yourself it's time to go back to the music?
When I was financially secure.
Okay. So you had a backup plan.
I had a backup
You were
plan.
financially secure. You had income coming in. You built that business to a good place. And then you said, I'm going back into the music.
Exactly. And I looked at how much I'm spending on shopping and eating out and luxury things, and I cut that off and put that towards my budget, towards music.
Nice. And then how was that transition like? What was your first big step where you said, okay, this is going somewhere?
When I dropped my first single, in less than 2 months, I had FM radio airplay.
Nice.
That's when I said, damn, this is it.
And how'd you get them to airplay? Is that something you did?
It just got noticed, yeah.
Just got noticed.
Yeah.
And then where'd you go from there when you heard that? How'd you plot out the rest?
I was like, okay, it's time to continue to go bigger, so I made a pop record. You know, it's not just rap. It's R&B, it's pop. I'm a very versatile artist.
Yeah.
And went and made a pop record, went down to Miami, shot a video. The video production, they screwed up. They screwed up big time. They forgot to record the freaking video with the audio on, so they couldn't get my lips in sync on the best parts, right? But instead of bitching and crying about it and blaming others that it's their fault and oh my God, I just lost $20,000-$30,000 on this trip and came out with bullshit. No, I ended up meeting an A&R rep at the time that tried to finesse me into a really bad deal. And I knew he was trying to finesse me into a really bad deal. But, you know, the key to anything in life is to always play dumb, man. Say less than necessary, right? This guy was trying to finesse me into taking 75% of my royalties and try to sell me a dream. I didn't tell him how well off I am, nothing. I played along with it so I could meet his connections, and then I cut him out. Very simple. And once I cut him out and I got to the bigger people, it's always the bigger people that last in any industry or business because they're real, they're good, they're genuine. They're people you could get along with, they're people that you could somewhat trust, right? They're not snakes, they're not serpents, they're not leeches. So I met those bigger people through him and I cut him out the picture, and real recognized real. One thing led to another, and next thing you know, I got an executive produced album on the way by Cool and Dre.
That's
5-time award Grammy winners. I mean, 20 years in the game, they're the biggest, they're the best.
That's awesome. There's two important things you said there, and I actually talked about these in the last couple of ShotCasts I've done here. One thing we talked about here is everything in life connects, and I said that every move you make in life connects you to another move. So that move that you made to go make that music video that turned out not being the best music video ever, they fucked up on it. Instead of you saying like, oh, fuck this music video, I lost 20,000, I'm gonna fucking walk away from it, you went ahead and said, I met this guy, I have this connection, let me keep going with these connections that I met. You took the positive out of the situation and you made that positive valuable for yourself, which a lot of people don't do. They hit into a dead end, they're like, oh, fuck this, I'm out. And then they just fucking go back, but they don't know behind that dead end there was so much more opportunity. So you kept pushing through, which is important. And then you said something I just read in the 48 Laws of Power. You read that book before?
Yeah, play a sucker to catch a sucker.
Yeah, play a sucker to catch a sucker. And that's what you're doing right now. You said that, you know, you're playing dumb to figure out what their true intentions are, and then you're using that against them, which is a very strong line. Very strong line. So, I mean, what's your advice out there to people that are stuck in careers right now that they want to go live their passion? They're not doing what they love. You know, a lot of people just go by the motions. They wake up assed out. They go to sleep assed out. They're not happy with what they're doing. I'm passionate about what I do. That's why I always have that fire and energy that I have every single day. If I wasn't passionate, I wouldn't have that fire and energy. And I believe if you don't have that fire or energy, you shouldn't be doing what the hell you're doing. So, I mean, what's your advice out there for people? What's some tips that you have from your life and your experience?
Look at how old you are and how quick time flew by already. Look at all the decisions that you didn't make that you regret not making. Do you really want to have one foot in the grave and then look back on your life and say to yourself, fuck, I should have done this, I should have done that, I should have done this. So my advice is just fucking do it. Just get up and fucking do it. There's literally nothing to it but to do it. Find a solution. Every time, find a solution. You're addicted to drugs? Fine. You can't quit cold turkey? Try to fucking quit cold turkey and go find help. You want to make money? Don't chase money. Chase something that you think will create a purpose and opportunity for others, and the money will come because they'll be happy generating that revenue for you. Do things that you're scared to do. If it scares you, fucking do it.
Okay. And if they're still scared and they just can't seem to do it, What do you do then?
Smack yourself and continue to work your 9 to 5, become miserable, deplete your health, become obese at the age of 40, catch diabetes, probably cancer at 45, die at 60 after you retire 2 years later.
Yeah.
With $500,000 in your 401 that's going to go to the government and half to your family anyway. So snap the fuck out of it. That's my advice.
And a lot of people say we're similar. We have similar characters. They say we look alike too. But
damn, you must be a good looking guy.
Have you always been like this, where like it's always like just head on, strong man into everything in life that you want to do? Or was there ever a time where you were like some of these people out there, where you were in your comfort zone, you didn't want to get out, and you sacrificed and settled?
I have not always been like this, and I fucking hated myself when I was the opposite. I couldn't stand being in my own skin, you know? One thing that I always was insubordinate. I don't listen to authority figures. Again, the only people that I believe is above me is God and the IRS, and that's it. Everybody else, you can go fuck yourself. That's been my mentality from day one. Don't tell me what to do unless you're successful in it yourself. Don't give me advice if you're not doing it yourself. Don't be a hypocrite. So I've always been that type. I won't listen to anybody. I'll take advice from people that I admire, that are actually doing things, you know, but you can't take advice from a leader that's working a 9 to 5 just like you. They probably built their way up in their company because it was the right time, right place. For example, all the people that work for me, or should I say work with me, because I always tell my workers, you're not employees, you don't work for me, you work with me. I can't do this without you. I let them know how valuable they are, right? One thing about them is they started with me in my company early. So under the assumption that my company takes off and becomes a franchisable chain, who's to say that my current receptionist is not going to be head of HR? Who's to say that my current PT or PTA is not going to be the clinical director or people that run the training for the other physical therapists, you know? They started with me at the bottom. So don't admire people just because they're at the top in a certain position of where they are. They might have started at the right place, right time, and it might not be your time, and you need to accept that and do something about it.
And you said that you were like this and you hated yourself inside your skin because you're the opposite of what you are now. Was there something that happened in your life that made that switch?
Yeah, I was a pussy.
Yeah, what made the switch, though, to make you not?
Being a fucking pussy. I got tired of being a fucking pussy.
Was there one thing that you said, God damn, it's time? How'd you just... Some people have that one thing that just kind of wakes them up. It's eye-opener. Some people transition into it. I got
sick of thinking that selfless behavior is doing what the other party wants you to do. Sometimes you gotta act selfishly to be able to prosper in a way where you could do things for others the way that you know is right. Okay. So that's what made me snap out of it. I got tired of taking care of A, B, C, D, and X, Y, Z person the way that they want to be taken care of, or doing things that made other people happy. And now, you know, obviously it came with a lot of hate and animosity and a lot of jealousy and envy. I've lost family. I've lost best friends that I've grew up with that we've never had debates or arguments about. I've lost a lot of people. You know, when they say it's lonely at the top, legit, it is, 100%. Because there's not much loyalty around you. People don't want to see you do better than them. And the ones that do want to see you do better than them are the people that you keep around. And you help them become an equal level to you. Yeah. You know, so what made me snap out of it was that.
And that's sad, man. You know, I've always been like, I want everybody to do better because I believe when you do better, I do better. When I do better, you do better. You know, it's always about good karma and stuff. And people that envy and that hate and that get upset about these things, it really just puzzles me, man. Like, what are you living for anyways? Like, why take the negative side? And that also connects. Like, if somebody thinks about you like that, their whole life's fucked because that's how they're thinking about everything in life, the negative aspect of everything, and just envy and hatred. Like, I'm not with that at all, man. Yep. So, I mean, I've had a time where I told you I left my own company and went to work for corporate America. That was a big change for me. So this show's called ShotCast, by the way. This is a shot. You got the cast. It's a C. This is a S. So we're going to end it with 2 shots of inspiration. So what it is, I want everybody listening, if you had 1 shot of inspiration to give them before they head out or end this channel or end this video or end this audio, what would they be? I'm going to start off with my shot, and I'm going to hand it to you for your shot, okay? Because I've been in this predicament in the opposite end. My shot to everybody listening today is, especially after talking to Mo Ali, album coming soon, go all in. So I told you guys that I own my own company. I put 10 years of blood, sweat, and tears in it. Mo could fucking attest. You were there. You seen the stress I had. You seen everything I've done. I thought I was going to be a millionaire at the end. I wasn't a millionaire at the end. I was salty about it at first. Now I'm not salty because those experiences built my character just like they built yours. So I know the value of that company, but it wasn't that hard for me to leave it. it was hard. It wasn't that hard where I couldn't do it. I ended up leaving it because I knew I went all in on it. And when you know you go all in and put your heart and soul 110% into everything you do, it's not going to be hard to transition to the next thing or keep going on the thing you're doing if you see progress with it, or even switch up your flow and do something completely different because you know you gave your 110% all in. And now I'm giving my 110% all in my career, and I know that that's going good for me. And if there's something else, like my passion right now, this right here is my passion. I don't believe I'm going 110% all in yet for me to even give up on this or even try. This is something I enjoy doing. So I'm going to keep doing this and go 110% all in. And then when I do that and I feel like, okay, I went all in. It's been a year. It's been 2 years. It's been 3 years. It's been 5 years. I took your advice. I researched online and it still didn't work. Then maybe I'll be a little more comfortable moving forward. So for anybody listening, if you're not happy with what you're doing right now, go all in on your passion. If you go all in on your passion and it works, great. You could end up like Mo. If it doesn't, you move on to the next thing and go all in on that. But with whatever you're doing, if you want no regrets, put 120% into everything you fucking do. And that's going to build your character. And that shit connects to everything else you do. So that's my ShotCast to you. What's your shot, Mo?
If it scares you, fucking do it. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And whatever you do, the main priority is God and your health. Always keep God and your health in order. You're going to be a hustler. You're going to focus. Make sure you get enough sleep. Make sure you focus on your physique. Make sure you watch what you put into your body. Because I'm going to be honest, everything out here nowadays is poison.
Okay.
Medicine, the food that they feed you, things, it's meant, I don't know, I think on a different level, it's meant to trap you. So if you're going to do something, go all the fuck in and make sure you give 110% to everything that you do, including your health and God. Those are first priority, health and God. The rest will come with it.
Awesome. So that kind of aligns with my shot as well. I want you to give a second shot, which is very important that I heard you talk about, how did you say it? You said you didn't go all in when you didn't have the second business. If you have too much to lose, how'd you say that?
When you go into something, you got to make sure you don't have too much to lose.
Exactly. When you go into something, you don't have too much to lose. Could you give that shot to everybody listening? Because I don't want people to drop their day job, go do something, fail, and have nothing left. So how do you explain that shot to everybody listening?
I'd have to give an example.
Yeah.
For example, if you make $10,000 a month at your corporate job and you hate your life and you're miserable, start weighing out your expenses, your mortgage, property taxes, insurance, $1,500, your car payment, $500. There's $2,000 a month right there. You're eating out, your habits, things like that. You're shopping. You're at $4,000 a month right now. Start cutting that shit. Go ahead, sell your home. Go ahead, get rid of your car, scale down to something smaller, right? Step back, Uber if you have to. If you're not having to go too many places, right? Figure out where you could budget and cut the fat immediately, and then scale back from your primary source of income by cutting out certain expenses that you don't need, literally don't need, not want, but need. And don't psych yourself out and say that you need it just because you really want it, right? Scale back on that to help, basically help subside for the income hit that you're taking, and then go forward with it. And as you slowly progress in what you're trying to do, slowly scale back from what you're already doing. You can't just completely jump from 0 to 100. There's levels to everything.
Okay. So pretty much don't go all in and leave whatever you're doing without a backup plan, pretty much.
Exactly. You got to have a backup plan.
Have a backup plan.
And you got to be willing to suffer.
And don't have too much to lose. Build up yourself like you built up your second business where you didn't have too much to lose, where you went in. Even if the music failed, you still have your business running.
Yeah, exactly. I had no one to cut it off. As soon as it's tapping into my business profits and preventing my business from growing, which is already my revenue, yeah, definitely. I'm done. But I'm already deep in the game.
Got it.
You got to realize when you're already too deep, you better not stop. Some people quit right before the finish line, and that's the biggest mistake.
And that's where the gold is.
Yeah, exactly.
So my shot was go all in 120% of the time before you try to leave anything or do anything. Make sure you're going 120% before you move on. Mo's major shot was pretty much don't go in on whatever you want to do if you have too much to lose. Build up yourself or build up whatever you have to a point where you could go in and take that risk where it's not too much to lose and you lose everything, which he did with his business that he built. And those are our two shots. This is ShotCast episode 7. Thank you for listening. Mo, thank you for joining the show, brother. Great seeing you. When's the drop for your 6 to 8 new songs?
January 24th. We have marketing lined up.
Where could these folks find it? Or is it not ready?
On all platforms. Right now, nothing is ready. But on all platforms, most definitely, you'll see me on TMZ, BET, VH1, MTV. You'll see me everywhere. Most definitely, the world will know who I am by June 2020.
Hey, Mo Ali, you heard it here first. So I'm your rap guy. Thank you.
Thank you. That was good.
All right, boom. Yeah, I want to make sure you hit him with that last shot because I like that one.